What is going on, guys? We are back with episode 22 of the Residual Earners podcast. Today, we are talking about success and how for you to be successful. I'm Jordan.
I'm Presley.
And I feel like we just killed that intro.
I think we did great.
But this is going to be a great episode, something that everybody, I think, can get something out of, and really the traits and mindset and things it takes to be successful, the hard work, the effort, everything that goes into success.
I agree. And, I know we talked about this last week, but I got to give you kudos for our signs again. I mean, this is week 2 that we've had our signs up, so I'm pretty pumped about our signs.
The signs are a great look, but I know it's been a while since we filmed an episode. What's changed in your life since last episode?
Oh my gosh, it's just all good. I mean, I have no complaints. When we finish filming here, I'm gonna drive to Houston and do a meeting this evening. So I will be driving from Dallas to Houston.
That's the effort it takes to be successful.
That's the effort it takes to be successful. But all's going good. I have no complaints. What about your world?
Just completed the move up to Calgary. It was a tough one, but we did it. Happy to be back here in Dallas filming this episode. Just got up there and had to fly right back and get this film. But, that's the hard work it takes.
That's the hard
to be
work
successful.
It takes. Well, it's only like 2,000 miles.
I know.
mean, it's not that far.
I drive it too, so I enjoy the time and alone. Well, let's get in. Let's jump right into this thing because I think this is something that everybody wants to be successful. I feel like, but very few people actually do what it takes to be successful because there's no easy way to it. They're the one in the millions that hit something big and get lucky. But everybody else has to put in the effort, put in the time, and that's the only way that you're going to achieve your ultimate outcome that you want.
I agree with that. And I'll start off with a story here because I read Jeff Bezos's life story. And everybody looks at him now, the dude's worth, 150 billion or whatever the number is. I don't know. It's kind of like monopoly money in my mind, but lots and lots and lots of money he's worth. But they don't realize that in the beginning, they were just a book company. Now they offer everything. I guess there's probably not anything they don't offer. I mean, you can buy anything on Amazon. But when they started, Jeff started it as just a book company, and he talks about some of the struggles, and then, they couldn't get any traction. Then they got too much traction, and he had every family member and him throwing books in boxes and taping them up and shipping them. And, I think what we overlook sometimes is we see these great successes, and he is a great success financially, that we miss the point of all the work and the stuff that wasn't fun. Now we watch him fly around on his jets and do all that stuff. But there was the day where he was in a garage throwing books in boxes and taping them and shipping them. And, you got to understand that I don't care what business it is, you're going to have to put in some effort.
Definitely.
And I think the biggest key, and we'll talk about all this, but, you got to get started.
Definitely. And, I think another kind of story an applicable, that's a big word for me, applicable situation to this is, me coming up and ultimately getting to play professional baseball, and it's kind of similar in business. You don't get there overnight, and it takes years and years of hard work and effort and early mornings and late nights and, all these different things, successes and failures to ultimately get where you want to go, and there's no snap of the finger to do it.
If I had a penny for every baseball I've picked up from throwing you batting practice, I'd probably be on par with Bezos.
I know, but clearly didn't do that good of a job since I ended up being a pitcher.
I think that goes back to Pat Murphy, though. He wanted you to be a pitcher because you were a switch-hitting catcher that could hit it.
I know Coach Murphy does not watch this podcast, but it is so much fun watching him now. He is the big league manager for the Brewers. He was my college coach. The best guy ever to play for. all this stuff. I learned a lot from him, but I've never seen anybody do a better job of taking a group of individuals and forming them into a team and getting everybody to play the same way. And that's kind of off subject for what we're talking about. But
you got to tell one story, though. Y'all went off campus to have team building, and you get this long steel rod. Tell them the steel rod story, because I'm still amazed. It's hard for me to believe that works.
I'm lying.
Well, I will vouch that it did happen, so I'll vouch for that. I'm amazed.
It seems like I'm making this stuff up. What do you call those? It's rebar.
Kind of like rebar. I mean, it's pretty good size rebar.
And you put it in the softness of your throat right here. And then you got a buddy standing right across from you doing the same thing. And on the count of 3, you run together, and that that rebar just bends in half. I mean, it's nerve-wracking.
And it's pushing against your throat.
Yeah. I mean,
we got that somewhere. I don't know where it's up.
It was in Arizona. We got to think of where it came back to.
Yeah, it's here somewhere. But we need to bring that on and set it on the table just as a reminder.
Jeez.
People are thinking, what in the frick are y'all talking about?
How does that have to do with success? But team success.
Team success.
All right. Well, let's get into it. And I think there's 6 steps here. There's 6 different traits, characteristics, mindset things that we're going to go over today. But success is not just about being in the right place at the right time. There's so much more to it. And the first thing we have is people who possess a growth mindset and believing in their abilities and intelligence. There's so much that goes to it, but I think that's a great starting point.
I think I said this last week on our show. It's so much attitude, not aptitude, ultimately determines your altitude. And I think in business, it's you just getting that I'm going to get it done attitude. I think that is so key, because number one, you got to start, which means you're going to have to get out of your comfort zone. But then number 2, I'm telling you right now, and we have been blessed to start several businesses, Jordan and I have. And there is good times and bad times, baby. And I mean, you just got to have that right mindset, that right attitude, that right, that I'm not going to fail attitude. I think that's one of the biggest keys to anything that we do, and do it well.
Definitely. And learning your craft better than anybody else, the knowledge there, just if you want to be the best at something, and I kind of go in the same kind of areas, because I know there's a lot of people that watch the podcast that are in these fields, but if it's, insurance, real estate, network marketing, whatever it may be, if you just know more than your competition, you have a leg up on them, and all that comes from is the growth mindset, but putting in the effort to get there.
Well, I think it's worth, I know last week you touched on this, but I think it's worth talking about. You and I are sitting there, you go, hey, why don't we do a podcast? And I'm thinking, what in the frick's he talking about? We've never done a podcast. Just take them from that conversation that you and I had to where we are now, because I think it applies totally to what you're talking about.
Definitely. And I mean, it's amazing how a week flies. It feels like I was sitting here 15 minutes ago.
Oh, absolutely.
Doing episode 21, and here we are with 22. But what we talked about last week was, Presley is such a wealth of knowledge when it comes to business, and especially network marketing. And so we wanted to get his reach a little further out there on the network marketing subject, and it's evolved into the Residual Earners podcast with, we go over network marketing and business. But starting it, we know nothing about a podcast. We know nothing about how to upload on YouTube, and
we probably knew less than nothing.
RSS feeds to get the podcast out to Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all these different areas. We know nothing, and it takes I found somebody online, started learning, started watching their videos on what they're doing, their process flows. Ended up it's a channel called Think Media. They have a few million followers. The guy who started that has a book called YouTube Secrets. Start reading that and really start learning exactly what we need to be doing, the equipment needed, how to make everything work together. Because every camera, the audio, when we have 3 guests, it's all different audio tracks that have to be put together. The cameras, they don't just, it's not just one SD card that goes in and they're all synced up and ready to go. It's three or 4 different feeds depending on how many people are here. There's so much that goes into it, and it's learning people's workflow and really committing the time to figuring out how to do it, because it's kind of a daunting task at first. And those first few episodes, I'm just going, God, dude, I hope we leave here with audio and at least one video, because this is I don't trust it at the moment.
No, and when we started, my gosh, 22 weeks ago, that's still mind-boggling. But anyway, when we started 22 weeks ago, go back to that first episode real quick and just give them a flavor of that one.
Well, everybody needs to watch episode 1 just to get a taste. But your boy here is colorblind, so I come by it naturally. But I made us green. The lights, it was not.
We look like Martians.
It was not good, and I was so excited, and I showed my wife, and she's like, "Oh, why do you look green? Do we look green? You're green. All right. Well, it's something we can learn from, and next episode will be better." And through reading and research and all the other stuff, now we're not green anymore, and we have neon signs.
We do.
We have 2 neon signs.
2, and I'll throw this in there because understand. This was a step-by-step process, just like building your business is going to be a step-by-step process. Literally, if you go from our first episode 22 weeks ago to today, and if you just watch just a few minutes of each of them, you're going to find out that every one of them we added one thing, or we tweaked one thing, or we did something to make it a little better. And from episode 1 to episode 22, every time we have literally done something to improve it. And that's the way you've got to understand. That's the way your business has got to be.
But on the flip side of that, it's, the subconscious that has gotten better too, because the product we're putting out, our conversation, the banter, things, the comfort levels, it obviously it looks different. The cameras are better. The signage is better. We got freaking purple lights and yellow seats, which I think pop nicely. But the content we put out is better because the comfort's there, and it's the same with the business. It takes time, and obviously it takes more than 20 weeks to get a business, fully booming. A podcast is a little easier, but it's still the same concept of learning and slowly getting better each time you go out and do it.
I will give you this. These are much more comfortable than those bar stools we started out sitting on.
That was terrible. All right, next one. Effort is another very important key for success. Stuff doesn't happen overnight. You have to have dedication to your craft. You got to not be okay with mediocrity. Effort is something that is so important, and not many people want to do. And what was Larry Raskin's quote? Now that I can't remember,
it'll come to me.
It's about the work you're avoiding. Success is in the work you're avoiding, or it's
the work you're avoiding is the key to the success you're looking for, or something kind of like that.
Nature. It's the hard work that a lot of people don't want to put in.
Unless you're new on here, and I hope you're new, we want new folks to be joining our podcast, but I was a basketball coach. Did it for 16 years. I was the head basketball coach at Lakeview High School in Garland, Texas. Loved it. Did it with a passion. Didn't make much money, but I loved it and did it with a passion. But my point of that is, the one thing I used to tell my team is, we're going to make mistakes. We're going to throw the ball away. We're going to miss shots. We're going to miss defensive assignments. But I said the one thing that we will never do, and that is not have effort. The one thing you can always put out, whether it's in sports or business, and understand, I don't care if it is sports or business, you're going to screw up every once in a while. But the effort has to be there. The other thing I used to tell my team is that I never want somebody to look at the way we're playing and know what the score is. In other words, I don't care if we're up by 20, down by 20, or if it's a tie game. I want people to realize that we're hustling our butt off and that we're working hard. That applies in the business world as well. you're going to have to put out effort, and you're going to make some screw ups and all, but it can't be because you're not in there fighting. You're not in there giving it your best. You're not in there putting in the time. You got to get your butt out of bed, and you got to get to the office or to the factory or to the studio or whatever it happens to be, and you got to be in there fighting. And that's what I taught my players. That's what I teach the folks that are on our team in business.
Definitely. No, and it's, I always go back to college. Pro ball was a little different, but, there has to be an urgency and there has to be effort in everything we did. You're running to your positions, you're running in for a meeting, you're doing everything, and effort is shown the entire way. And it's never an option.
There is no substitute for putting your heart and soul into it and putting out the effort. No substitute, guys. I'm telling you.
Definitely. So let's jump on here now. The next one is the next key to success in business is perseverance. It's something. There's going to be highs. There's going to be lows. You have got to stay dedicated to your craft, and you've got to push through. And something you've always told me that is so true. And 5 years ago, I wouldn't believe you, but the highs are never as high and the lows are never as low. And I don't, I'm an emotional person, and I don't always live to that, but it's definitely helped that, it seems like things are going off the rails, most times they're really not. And then when stuff's really good, don't get too high on that either, because it's going to rebound. And, staying consistent and not giving up is huge.
Well, the good times are going to be there, but the bad times are going to be there. Business is an emotional roller coaster. So what Jordan's talking about is our emotions are going to be doing this. I mean, again, it's like a roller coaster. We're going to have good days, and my gosh, we're on top of the world, and everything's wonderful, and then we lose an account, or somebody says no, or somebody quits, and then we're down here in the valley, and then we're back up on top, and then we're down in the valley. What I always tried to teach Jordan was, we're going to have good days and bad days, and you can't help your emotions moving. They are. I mean, it's just, we're human. But instead of making your roller coaster like this, let's kind of do a kiddie roller coaster where it's more like this, and it keeps us a little more balanced, a little more, in touch with reality, instead of being so high and so low and our emotions just flinging all over the place. Just get happy. Sure, we're going to get happy, but temper it a little bit. And then, again, the bad days aren't going to be as bad as you think they are. They're going to pass. I got a saying, this too shall pass. I mean, you've heard that your life probably. But it's going to go back up, and it'll go down, and it'll go up. But just kind of try to level things out a little bit. But the whole key is you can never quit, guys. I mean, that's the difference. I was thinking back when the Dallas Mavericks played the New York Knicks, they're down by like 9 points with, I forget, it's like 38 seconds left. They hit a three, and then they got a steal and hit another three. And then by just got a break, and they foul, I forget, they hit a free throw, then they got the ball back, and they foul Luka, and they're down by 3 points at this point in time. They're down by 3. There's like a second or a tenth or a 7/10 of a second. I mean, there's not hardly any time left. He's shooting free throws. He makes the first one. He intentionally missed the second one. And just by good fortune, the good Lord was definitely smiling. It gets tipped around a time or two and ends up in Luka's hands, and he hits a little falling down 10, 12-footer to tie the game.
He was like airborne when he caught it.
Oh, he was. He shot it while he was up in the air. And again, they had hit a three. They hit another three. They're still down by 3 points. Literally, I forget. It was like 1.2 seconds or something like that. Makes the first one, misses the second one, puts it in, and they win in overtime. They were down by 9 points. There's going to be games that happens, but there's also going to be life where that happens. Your business is you're down by 9 points with 38 seconds left or whatever. You got to understand, you just keep pushing, because you never know what's going to happen. You can pull one out in overtime just like the Dallas Mavericks did, but it is so key that good times or bad times, we persevere and we never, ever quit.
That's it. I mean, I could think of a ton of stories on that, but we'll keep moving.
Real quick, how about talking about playing the University of Arkansas in the game that's going to send y'all to the World Series? And Jordan, guys, is amazing. He was an All-American at Arizona State, set the single-season saves record. They're up by 3-2, ninth inning. They bring Jordan in, and I'll give you this. He struck the first two guys out. Needs one more out to go to the World Series. Take it from there.
Well, if you remember, I got brought in with 2 outs in the 8th because we were in a pickle.
Oh, that's right.
Got out of that and struck the first 2 guys out in the 9th. We're still up 1. And Brett Eibner's at the plate, and I get him down early. I could throw pretty hard back then, so I got 2 fastballs by him. And third pitch, hung a slider over the zone. But I was so dedicated to my slider at that time because it was what I thought was my best pitch, and I didn't pay attention to the situation that, you get 2 fastballs by a guy, don't throw off speed, and speed is bad up. But, that fourth pitch was another slider and didn't get it down, and he hit it over the both fences there at Packard to tie the game up, which was obviously a big deal. And,
And this is on ESPN. There's thousands of people there. Just get that picture.
Yeah, definitely. It's the the super regionals to send us to the World Series, and you just stay with it in those situations and don't give up because you're still in the fight. And I think that's kind of a military mindset. Not that I have a military background, but like you're still in the fight, so we're not giving up. And I stayed in until the 14th, didn't give up another run. And ended up being the winning pitcher. We won in the bottom of the 14th. And, that's just staying with it, not giving up. And just because the going gets tough, you don't wave a white flag and give up. You got to keep fighting.
No, I remember asking you, I said, what were you thinking when Abner hit that home run? And you looked at me and you said, I was thinking I couldn't give up another run.
Yep.
And I'm just thinking, wow, because I don't know if I'd have had that attitude, but Jordan did. Anyway, let's get back to business.
Definitely. The next key for success would be self-discipline, accountability. Every morning, waking up, getting done what you need to get done, jumping into your morning routine, doing whatever it takes, the steps you have to achieve what you want to, getting those done every day and holding yourself accountable and never missing a day.
I will give you guys what I think is some keys here. One, I get up early, and I think you got to get your butt out of bed. I think it was Jim Rohn that said, if you were going where I'm going, you'd get up early too. And not a physical location, but what he's trying to accomplish. That's what he meant by going where I'm going. I kind of have that same attitude. I set my alarm for 6. Usually I'm up before then. I get up and get my day going. I'm going to have my quiet time. I'm going to read the Bible. I'm going to pray. I'm going to try to read out of a good book, and if I've got a few minutes, I'll watch a few minutes of a YouTube personal growth giant or some subject that I'm trying to learn. I try to start my day on that positive note. Try to drink water. I try to get things going the right way, and then from there, the night before, I always try to do a to-do list of what I want to get accomplished that next morning. Well, after I go through my quiet time and do all that stuff, I've got my to-do list right there, and I know what I'm trying to get accomplished. I know the important task that I need to get done because I try to prioritize them and put the important stuff at the top of the page. I will say this, if you will get in the habit of getting up, getting your day going, getting some positive stuff in your mind, and then having your to-do list so you know what you're trying to accomplish and you're not just letting the wind blow you around, I promise you, you will get so much done, it will amaze you. But you got to get that discipline going. Remember, discipline is doing what you're supposed to do, when you're supposed to do it, whether you feel like it or not. And there's going to be days you don't feel like it, but you got to do it anyway if you're trying to accomplish great and mighty things with your life.
Definitely. And, there's nobody, especially if you're a business owner, own your own thing. You're your own boss. There's nobody looking over your shoulder. And if you're not holding yourself accountable, you're not gonna you're
No,
not gonna meet with success.
no. The buck stops with you. When you own the business, you've got to understand the buck stops with you. So make that decision that you're going to do whatever it takes to get the job done. You're either going to suffer the pain of discipline, or you're going to suffer the pain of regret. Let me say that again. This is key. You're either going to suffer the pain of discipline, because there is some pain involved when you're doing stuff on days you don't feel like it. Absolutely. But you're either going to suffer the pain of discipline or the pain of regret, because if you don't do it, you're going to be looking back at some point in time in your life knowing that I didn't get it done and I could have.
Definitely, I think that's very powerful. The next big key to success, and I think most successful people would be described as passionate. You got to have passion for what you do every day. You got to wake up, have passion, get after it, and the people around you have to see and feel the passion you have.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Last week when we were doing that, man, and you're right, that seems like it was just flies by. When we talked about, it was a networking podcast last week, but we actually talked about this, because I don't care. It can be a network marketing business. It can be a auto hauling business. It can be whatever, a podcast. You've got to have passion. It is your passion that fuels everything. People do not want to be around negative, dull, disillusioned, frustrated crybabies. They just don't want to be around those folks. They want to be around people that are passionate about life, that know where they're going. They're on the path that you may not have arrived yet, but you're at least on that road to success. And people pick up on that, and they feel that passion. If you don't have any passion, guys, it's not good. You got to develop that. And I'm going to tell you, I'm a coach, and I'm very emotional. And I mean, when I get up talking, the veins start bulging and I'm waving the arms. You don't have to copy everything that I do or anybody else does, but people can pick up when you're passionate about it. You may not be as boisterous as I am when I'm passionate, but they can feel it. It's a feel people get. And when you're trying to start a business and you're trying to get people to join your team and you want to hire somebody, and it's about your belief, it's about your passion that's going to bring them in, because you're painting that big picture that they want to be part of. You got to make it where it's more than just a job. It's a mission you're on, because you're going to make this thing happen and we want you to be part of it. That passion will come across. And if you don't have passion, I'm telling you, it makes the job so much more difficult.
Definitely, especially as a business owner. As we move on here, the last real key to success that we have, and it's something we talk about every single week, I feel like, and it's self-growth. It's reading, it's listening to podcasts, it's filling your brain with the good stuff, and really trying to be a lifelong learner.
Well, some of you guys that are watching have been in my house, and I got massive bookcases, and I've got lots and lots of books. Nowadays, you don't even have to have lots and lots of books. I've probably got 50 books on my audio books program that I listen to, but I'm always trying to learn. I'm always trying to grow. I do believe that I am who I am. I am where I am. I've had the success that I've had because I wanted to learn. I went to a cousin of mine, and I believe it's Jim Rohn that talked about this. Manny might have heard it from Jim Rohn. I don't know, but Manny looked at me and he said, if you want more, you got to become more. He said, you don't chase success, you attract success by the person you become. And Manny being a cousin of mine that I've modeled my life after, because he showed us that somebody from our family that grew up in the ghettos could make something out of themselves. And it's all about wanting more in life. It's all about, I just believe that if we grow as a person, that we can accomplish anything that we want to. I believe if the mind can conceive it and we can believe it, we can achieve it. But it all goes back to you've got to grow and become the person that it takes to accomplish whatever you're trying to accomplish. And it doesn't happen overnight. I mean, my gosh, I'm still growing, learning, trying to help. I mean, that's just the way it is. But I do believe that you've got to have that attitude that I'm going to be a lifelong learner. I talk about it all the time, but I'll say it one more time. If you just took the time to read 10 pages every day, 10 times 365 is 3,650 pages. You have read 12 to 15 good books in a year. If you do that between now and next year at this time, you will not be the same person. June 5th, 2025, you would not be the same person. And think about that. Could we all read 10 pages if we wanted to? Oh, absolutely. Come on, guys. Let's get real on this. We could do that. And I promise you, if you would just commit to doing that for 1 year, 10 pages for 1 year, you won't be the same person 1 year from now.
I mean, I think it's even so much smaller than that. Reading one good book, just focus on one. There's definitely been books that I've read that changed my outlook completely and my drive just off reading one book. It's amazing what reading 12 to 15 could do at the end of the day, because you could get so much knowledge.
Well, let's get real about this. If we just take it down to nuts and bolts, and by golly, can you do it or not? Could you read 10 pages in one day? Could you find 15, 20 minutes to read 10 pages? Yes. I mean, that's not that monumental of a task. Could you jump on the internet and watch one YouTube of Zig Ziglar, Stephen Covey, Les Brown, Tony Robbins, Jim Rohn? Could you find 30 minutes to do that, maybe right before you went to bed? Yeah, you could. And then could you start running with people that are going somewhere in their life? In other words, we all know winners, we all know losers. Guys, start running with the winners. If we would just read a little bit, I don't mean sit down and try to read a book every day. I'm saying read 10 pages. If we would watch one YouTube of a personal growth giant, and if we would just run with some people that we know, you can tell, come on, you guys know winners and losers. If I would just spend a little more time with some winners, if we would just do those three little things, which we all could, it would be amazing what we could accomplish in our life.
I think the people feel your passion.
Didn't you say passion was one of the keys?
Passion is key.
Yeah.
See what we did there? Well, I think that pretty much wraps it up for me. You have anything else you want to throw in there?
I guess the only thing I'd end with is we wanted to do a podcast. We knew nothing about a podcast. We just jumped in there, and our first one, it's laughable. But we started. Jordan came to me and said, let's do the car hauling business. We didn't know a whole lot about the car hauling business, but now he's got trucks rolling all over the country. He's learned about the car hauling business. I could go on and on and on, guys, but you got to start. What's that Chinese proverb? The journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step. Take the first step. You can do it.
Definitely. Well, guys, as always, we're trying to bring value. Leave comments below on what you want us to talk about, topics. Last week a subscriber wanted a topic talked about on network marketing. We hit that for them. And, leave us comments below, subscribe to the channel, like this video. It helps the channel out immensely. And we just can't thank everybody enough for tuning in to us every week and enjoying what we have to offer.
Love you.
Awesome. Love you, man. Thank you.
God bless you guys.